Given that Israel has stated that demilitarization of the Gaza Strip is a secondary objective of their present incursion, how feasible is a two-state solution when a standing army has to be part of any nation state?
Yeah, thank you very much, Olumide, and thanks for all your reports this morning. For Israel at the moment, I think their focus is on, like you rightly stated, is complete annihilation of the Hamas group. So that is their focus, and Israel is not budging with respect to having a ceasefire at this very time. So the Israel Defense Force, they want to completely, dislodge, Hamas military capability. So when you look at all the tactics that the Israelis have, deployed since they started the offensive in Gaza, is pointing towards that direction, even though they are very, very much under severe pressure now from their key ally, which is the United States of America.
Is a two-state solution still feasible, given they have a secondary objective of demilitarizing Gaza? That means no arms, no standing army after this war.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the two-state solution is the permanent solution to this crisis. But I think the Israelis are just trying to, play hard to get, and they don't want to begin, discussions or peaceful negotiations with the Hamas group at this time, knowing fully well that what they have done in the last 8 weeks or thereabout, that this crisis began, has actually destroyed a lot of the Hamas military strength. So the Israelis are not thinking about that at the moment. But the only snag for Israel is that there's a lot of civilian casualties. So most nations, most of the Israeli allies, like the US, even France, Germany, the UK, they believe that if Israel is attacking the Hamas group like they've been doing, they should be able to, minimize the level of civilian death, especially women and children. So if they are going after Hamas, they do that, go into the tunnel like they've been doing. So, but the problem has been those, drone attacks and other, military incursion that the Israelis have been doing, which have been affecting the civilian population, which even the United Nations, a lot of nations who have been sympathetic to the Israeli cause are beginning to say, oh, hold on, this cannot continue because of the large-scale humanitarian crisis that we currently see in Gaza. But in the long term, the two-state solution, undermining what Israel is saying now, is the way to go. And for the Hamas, they also need to know that Israel deserves the right to, to exist as an independent nation.
Ismail Haniyeh, the Qatar-based Hamas leader, says that Gaza without Hamas is a delusion, and also that they are open to any ideas or initiatives that can end Israeli aggression. What possibly do you think he meant? Do you think also that that is open for discussion for the release of further hostages?
Yeah, I think for the Hamas group, when you look at from reports that we are reading about, the optics we are seeing, in the global media, they too know that they are losing the support of the ordinary Palestinians. You saw, I was watching your channel, recently, and I saw a lot of, Hamas militants, surrendering. We all saw that optics. So they are losing support because of the level of devastation currently that is happening in Gaza. So they too are also kind of midway, throwing in the olive branch. So that statement for me is the way to go. So nobody should be under the illusion that this crisis will just go on unending. The world cannot survive it. And like you said in your report just now, we saw the Houthi attacks from a group in Yemen on vessels in the Red Sea. So if this crisis is not properly handled, it can escalate. We see the Hezbollah on one side, and then we see the Iranians on the other side. So when you look at this triangle, I think everybody will understand that this needs to be nipped in the bud. This crisis must not be allowed to escalate, especially with those attacks that have already taken place in the Red Sea with those oil vessels. It could have huge economic implications for the entire world.
Speaking of the entire world, other countries have been chipping in their own 2 cents contributions, such as Russia, who have openly criticized the Israeli presence in Gaza, given that they themselves are invading and have invaded Russia. Isn't that preaching to the choir? That is, they've invaded
exactly.
Ukraine. They've invaded Ukraine, I beg your pardon. So are they just preaching to the choir?
Exactly. In fact, I was listening to some analysts who were analyzing, this kind of statesmanship that Russia is trying to take in this Israel-Gaza conflict. And they've said, come on, you have no local standing. You have done practically almost the same thing. And the entire United Nations body have been speaking resolution upon resolution. You didn't listen. So, Russia have been doing their bit, but they don't have the moral nexus, to really push that, because they too are, as we speak, they are still, on their offensive in Ukraine, which they want to annex. So that is the point. But I think we must give kudos to the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed ibn Salman. He's been doing a lot of diplomatic shuttle. The Qataris, the government of Qatar, they've done a lot. And we even got a report yesterday that they've sent away some the leaders of Hamas who have been, resident in Qatar for a very long time. We hear that those Hamas leaders have moved to Algeria. So I think the rest of the world, they've been, really pushing for peace. And with the U.S. Publicly, telling the Israelis that they need to, reduce their military offensive, I think that has sent a very strong message to the Israelis that they also need to change their strategy and go the way of peace.
If the other Arab nations surrounding Israel wanted to get involved, such as Lebanon, such as Jordan, by now, Syria, Iran, they would have been involved already on a wider scale, do you imagine? Do you reckon that the limited responses or curtailed responses or restrained responses from Hezbollah in Lebanon is indicative that no one really wants a full-out war and everyone really wants peace?
Yeah, you can see that no one really wants war, despite the show of chest and the show of force and all the hard talk that you hear from even Iran, you hear from the Hamas group, you hear from Hezbollah in Lebanon and all that. But you will know that everyone know that in terms of military capability, the Israelis are way ahead. And, in international circles, nations size themselves strength. Just like we say in business and economics, we talk about comparative advantage. So, in case of, David and Goliath kind of scenario in the real sense. So, all these groups that we've talked about, they know the military capability of Israel. So, and they know that this is not something they can win. And with the state of the world economy, they know that it's going to be really hard to push that, let's go to war, all-out war scenario. So I think that has, helped everyone to be on edge and not take this too far. But like we always say, when it comes to conflict, a day is like 1,000 years. Anything can happen.
Finally, how did you take the UN resolution of the General Assembly for the Israelis to withdraw from the Gaza Strip, and now Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, saying that nothing will deter their objective in routing Hamas?
Yeah, the UN resolution, 153 nations voting in favor, 10 voted against, It's like we have always said, when you look at the UN, they're just an organization that will always back, but never able to bite in all crises. Even when you look at the invasion of Iraq those days, when you look at the current invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and then you look at this. So the UN, they will always come up with resolutions. They never really go anywhere. So nothing actually happens. And even the Security Council, when they voted, the Americans vetoed it. So nothing works. And the United Kingdom, they don't even vote, they abstained. So when you look at, for me, this crisis, I don't see the United Nations resolving it. The resolution may just probably come from, maybe the Saudi Arabia, the Qataris, actually doing the statesmanship. So for the United Nations, personally, I don't believe anything is going to come from them, because history has shown us that most of their resolutions, they are just mere pronouncement. It doesn't carry much weight.
We certainly pray that this time next year, we won't be talking about any of these two wars having not been concluded, either Israel-Hamas or Ukraine and Russia. Thank you, Dr. Tony Agwin, Senior Lecturer, Anglo-Ruskin University in London, who joined us from there. Many thanks.
Thank you, Lumide. Have a great day.